This video is on how to field strip and clean the Springfield Armory Hellcat. This is not a complete disassembly video. We're only going to break it down as far as you need to go for basic cleaning and maintenance. To get started, you'll need a few things. Cotton swabs with an angled tip, a microfiber gun cleaning rag, CLP, which stands for Clean Air Lubricant and Protectant, 9mm size bore snake, a cleaning rod with a handle that allows the rod to spin freely, a nylon brush, 9mm size bronze bore brush and a brass jag, powder-free latex gloves, and cleaning patches. And I'll leave a link to my website in the show notes below where I'll have links to all these items. Right now I have my links pointed towards Amazon because that's the cheapest I can find these items, but if that changes in the future, I'll make sure to update my website. I always start out with a clear and empty weapon, but of course I'm going to double check. To do that, press the magazine release button, which is just behind the trigger. Remove the magazine. Pull the slide a few times. If anything's inside the chamber, it's going to eject at this point. Look for the slide stop lever. Now pull the slide all the way back and engage the slide stop lever upward. Now take a look inside the chamber and make sure it's clear. Make sure you don't see any brass stuck in there. And we are 100% clear. Now find the takedown lever. And you're going to rotate it upward towards the 12 o'clock position. And if you have a safety on yours, you might as well drop the safety because you're going to have to pull the trigger here in a minute. Now you're going to pull the slide stop lever downward, pull the slide back a little bit, and it's going to go forward. Now you'll see that it's not going to come off, but if you pull the trigger, you'll feel it give and it'll slide right off. Now compress the recoil spring from chamber end to muzzle end and pull it out. Now remove the barrel. And that's as far as you need to go for a basic field strip. You have your frame, the recoil spring, the barrel, the slide, and the magazine. You don't have to clean these parts in any particular order, but today I'm going to start with the barrel. I use a cleaning rod with a handle that allows the brush to spin freely. This is so the bristles on the bore brush can spin freely within the rifling and you get a better clean. Add CLP to the bore brush. And I'm only going to push it through the bore in one direction, from chamber end to muzzle end. Because it doesn't make any sense at all to push the dirt out and pull it right back in. Kind of like when you're sweeping the floor, you don't just sweep back and forth, you sweep in one general direction, out the door or into a dustpan. So to do this right, I'm going to push the bore brush through, unscrew it when it comes out of the muzzle end, and repeat the process. Do this 2 or 3 times and you should be good. Now attach the jag to the cleaning rod. Add CLP to a cleaning patch and wrap it around the jag. Now push it through the barrel from chamber end to muzzle end. You'll see that the first patch comes out dirty. Just keep pushing patches through until they start to come out clean. Now add CLP to the nylon brush and start scrubbing all outer surfaces of the barrel. By the way, if I'm going too fast, just pause and rewind as needed, and if I'm going too slow, fast forward. Once you're done with the exterior of the barrel, wipe it off with a microfiber rag. The barrel is pretty easy to clean, but sometimes this feed ramp can be stubborn. So if you have any pieces of brass or lead or whatever that's stuck on the feed ramp, just use the bore brush to scrape it off. As long as you're using a bronze or nylon brush, you're not going to hurt anything. The bronze is a soft metal, so it's not going to scratch it. Now this next part involving the bore snake is optional, but I highly recommend it, and I'll show you why in a minute. So make sure you're using the correct size. On the weighted end, it should say 9mm or 38 in this case. It's going to be the same diameter. So drop the weight through the chamber end and pull it out through the muzzle end. Do this 2 or 3 times and you should be good. Now the bore is hard to pick up on camera, but this bore is spotless. I can see the rifling's perfect and it looks like black glass inside. There's not even a speck of dust. That's way cleaner than it ever came from the factory. That's why I highly recommend a bore snake every time you clean. The bore snake is something I will never skip over. Now I'm going to add a few drops of CLP and even it out with a microfiber rag and I'll be done with the barrel. This is just to leave a light protective coating. Now let's clean the recoil spring, add CLP to the nylon brush and scrub in between the coils. Now wipe off the excess CLP and you're done with the recoil spring. Now let's start on the frame. Add CLP to the nylon brush and start scrubbing all surfaces, inside and out. And yes, I'm also going to use CLP to clean the stippling. Don't worry, we're not going to leave it wet. It's not going to be slippery or anything like that when we're done. It's going to be completely dry. Feel free to skip this part if you enjoy getting lead residue on your hand every time you pick up your gun. Now I'm going to add a little CLP to the cotton swab and go through in fine detail. Give the rails special attention. The slide reciprocates back and forth on these rails, so you want to make sure they're totally clean. Now wipe off all the excess CLP with the gun cleaning rag. This gun's small enough where you can use your fingers to get inside the magazine well. The best way to get the excess CLP off of the stippling is just wrap the rag around it and squeeze. Now just make sure the outside of the frame is totally dry. You don't want anything slippery on this part. And that's clean and dry, so let's move on. Now I'm going to add a medium coat of CLP to the rails and anything else that shows signs of metal on metal wear, and a light coat of CLP to anything else that's metal. Now let's start on the slide. Add CLP to the nylon brush and start scrubbing all surfaces inside and out, with the exception of a couple of parts which I'll show you here in a minute. This is the striker channel. You do not want to leak CLP down into that channel, nor do you want to leak CLP down into that little hole that the firing pin comes out of. That's the breech face area that I'm pointing at now. So go very light with the CLP around that area, and if you think you need to, hold the breech face facing down as you're cleaning. That'll help to prevent the CLP from leaking down into it. This part that looks like a hook is the extractor. That's a part that a lot of people miss. Make sure you get behind the extractor. Now add CLP to a cotton swab and go through everything in fine detail. And just like we did on the frame, pay particular attention to the rails, in this case the rail channels of the slide. Just keep changing out cotton swabs until they start to come out clean. Now wipe off all the excess CLP. Now add a light coat of CLP to all surfaces and a medium coat of CLP to the rail channels, as well as any of the parts that show signs of metal on metal wear. And just a reminder not to leak CLP down into the striker channel or the breech face area. As far as the magazine goes, it's pretty easy to clean and take apart. I really don't think you need a video to show you how to do it. Unless you dropped it in mud, dirt, sand, or something like that, you can just give it a basic wipe down. If you do need to take it apart, it's pretty easy. Press the little button that's at the bottom of the base plate, slide the base plate off, the spring and follower come out, clean it with CLP, make sure everything's dry before you put it back together because you don't want to attract dust inside the magazine sleeve. Wipe it down again, and that should be about it. Now let's reassemble. Place the barrel back into the slide. Now the wider part of the recoil spring is muzzle in first, compress it, and the flat part is chamber in, and when it's installed properly, it should look just like this. Make sure the takedown lever is in the up position. When I was cleaning, somehow I moved it back to the down position, so make sure it's up, or else the slide's not going to go on. So line up the rail channels and the rails together, pull the slide all the way back, and use the slide stop to lock the slide in place, just like so. Now move the takedown lever back to the original position, pull the slide stop back down, and let the slide go home. Let's do a function check. Work the slide. Now pull the trigger, but don't release it. Keep holding it. Now work the slide again. Release the trigger. You should hear it reset. Now pull the trigger again. You should hear a click. If you do, you're good. Now let's make sure it locks back on an empty magazine. So insert an empty magazine, pull the slide back, and it should stay back on its own. If it does, you're good to go. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching.